Hello everyone, today I am in Edenville, which is part of Sunderland. It used to be part of Bishop Wearmouth, and we're off on something historic which probably we don't really appreciate the history of the place. Now just before we go at the destination, just want to show you this it's on Ranson, I think it's Ranson Street. That's what an old street looked like. The tarmac's come off, but I think it's made of blocks and so on. So we're going to head through here. This is Cedric Crescent. They're great, these little Sunderland bungalows. Thousands of them in Sunderland. Some of the few places, I think probably the only place to actually find them. I think there's some in Whitburn. This is an area I know well because I used to live here. I'll show you in a moment. It's Sunday morning, so it's quiet. I was hoping to be a little bit more quiet, but it was raining early on, so I couldn't come and do the video. I went to McDonald's instead. But this is where we are, and the purpose of this visit, for this walk, is, if you look on this embankment, we'll get up there soon. This was the track of the Hetton Colliery Railway, which was opened in 1822, and it used to bring coal along that stretch of a wagon. It was a wagon way originally before it started using steam, and later I think it was maybe electric by the end. I think it shut in 1972. Now that is Weirhead Drive over there. That's my old street. I lived there for 17 years up until 2023. But before I had lived there, I had lived in the same street in another house a couple of years before that. So it's over a third of my life is lived in that estate. It's the site of the old public works department for anybody who's from Sunderland. Probably remembers it, like a depot for the council workers and so on. So as you can see, it's still quite high, this embankment, but I think it was a little bit higher. Hopefully I don't bump into anybody on here. So literally from 1822, wagons would bring coal down here, starting off at South Hetton. I think went through close to Doxford Park and Wardenlaw and Silksworth. Down through this part of Sunderland, and it would head through Milfield and come out at the Hetton Drops on the River Wear. So it was 13 kilometres, and which is 8 miles along, and it was quite unique at the time because I believe it didn't have any animals. It was all different sort of mechanisms, pulleys and inclines. I think it was the famous George Stephenson was involved in deciding it. So originally this embankment was here when there was no houses. Even now it's quite high up on this side if you look down. But even this part of Bishop Wearmouth back in the late 1890s was still quite rural. Yeah, that noise is from Durham Road, which was the old road out of Sunderland all the way through to Durham. And not far away was Chester Road, but as the town grew up those roads, there was still a lot of land in between these two of the main roads. So there was a famous walk called Ladies' Walk, which I'll go and show you in a moment. Well, I'll point out where it is. So people from Bishop and Weymouth, ladies would head up the side of this street and then go for walks. It was all brambles, hedges, and there were some few country houses around here as well. So we just come up to Eden House Road. And at this point here, there was a bridge across this road which has been demolished, which took the call across this spot. There's a great old picture of a locomotive engine going across. So up there is Hurstwood Road, and that was where Ladies' Walk was. Now, a well-known shop from this area, which had been, I think, from the 70s, was Max's and Sons, which was that building. He retired a couple of years ago, so it's now family shopper. But there's some great pictures of this area from like the 1900s, and also like the 1800s, and it was such a smart area. I've done stories of people who lived in some of these houses. They had master mariners, Prussian ship captains, teachers, shop owners. It's quite a desirable place. You're on the edge of Bishop Weymouth and Sunderland. I haven't been down here for, I think, probably about a year or so, but they've actually put a proper path in now. I used to dread cook because I lived in that estate. This sometimes was a shortcut, and I used to dread coming through here in case you bumped into anybody that you didn't need to. See, that is Vale Street East, and there's a clue. Vale is like a place where there's a stream or a river runs through it. Now the burn which goes through Barnes Park and heads off down the River Weir comes down somewhere around Vale Street there, and then it goes under the Mayfair buildings into Burn Park. Now I just want to show you this amazing piece of work. Look at that. That is by the well-known, well, in Sunderland, Frank Styles, artist, muralist. He's done loads of stuff like this, not just wildlife but historical ones as well. Thankfully, it hasn't been that vandalised that much. It's been up a few years now, but I feel there's only the odd piece, which is massive artwork. One thing is, a shame not many people will see it, as it's so out of the way down here. We get a good view over places like Thelma Street over there. It's a lot better with this tarmac path come through. So you can see how high up we are. This bit, they haven't taken much off the top. But to be honest, it's full of dog shit and litter. I wouldn't recommend you come through here on your own. Now, in 1879, the schools broke up in June of that year. There was a family called the Hughes family who lived at Elgin Street, which is bottom of Chester Road, the site of it's on where the site of the university is. It doesn't exist anymore, the actual street. Now the two oldest brothers were John and Wilfred, who were 7 and 5.5. That was the first day after first day of the school holidays, and they took one of the youngest siblings up Chester Road. They were going to their aunties. Now, at the end of this stretch of the railway, there was another bridge which went across Chester Road, and this place was out of bounds because it was dangerous for kids and so on. But they left the pram with another friend, and they decided they would come up here and play on the wagons. A few minutes later, when the driver was bringing the coal through, he noticed something horrific in front of him, and that was the mangled bodies of John and Wilfred. They'd both been killed. And from what I can work out, it was in somewhere between Chester Road, which is about 100 metres that way, and this little bit here. They'd snuck in, climbed up, and as kids do, play, but tragically they were killed. And the bodies, later that day, the bodies were taken to an engine house on Durham Road. So just around this particular spot, it was like where the wagons, the trains could come off and sort of park up. It was like an engine house. And about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the bodies were taken back to the parents' house. So, a tragic story. I will post it on the Life and Death in a Northern Town Facebook page of mine. It's called The Railway Children, the story about that. It goes in a bit more detail and stuff about the family. But, to make things worse, the father, John Hughes, was an Irish tailor, and his wife was Margaret Ann Thompson, who was from Bishop Wearmouth, which is this sort of area. And the following year she sadly passed away, so he was a widower. He remarried and had more children, but on Saturday, June the 16th, 1883, one of his children went out for the afternoon to a show in town at the Victoria Hall, and you probably all know what happened at that day. Sadly, he lost that child. I think it was called Thomas. It's in that story, the full details. So in the space of 4 years, he'd lost his wife and 3 children. Now as we come down here, some lovely little short side streets off down here. I think one's called the Knoll, one's called the Bray. Again, from people who have done stories on school mysteries lived here. It's a massive embankment, this. I don't know if this was here when the wagonway was originally built, or whether they're decades later when all the Irish navvies came across it was built, but as you can see down here, bit of a dump in it, look. Fly tipping spot. But at some point along here, this is where those 2 young boys came up and lost their lives. Now this is the spot where the bridge went across Chester Road. Just cross over them and end the video over there. Again, loads of the height is being taken off. Some crossover. But when I first came to Sunderland in 1994, when I came to university, that was my old house that's where I lived. The precinct, the University Halls of Residence, had some great days there. But obviously I had no idea of all the history of any of these particular places. But next time you drive past, just remember, this was the track of an early railway. As you can see, the embankment comes around here. I think there's a little bit more of it. I think it crossed over. There's still some left behind the university there. we're in Milfield. The back streets of Milfield. I've got to be honest, when I moved here in the 1990s, it wasn't never this dirty. Rubbish everywhere. But look, there's the embankment. It comes all the way around here. It's a while since I've walked down this bit. I think it comes out, and you can see, so basically the wagon way came through this direction, through Milfield. Looks like an old industrial building. So there, I think that's the last bit of the embankment there, but you can see where the track must have come round here. It's a great name, Tintern Street. Look at that, how they used to fit all these little streets, Sunderland bungalows in. Oh, there must be tens of thousands of them in Sunderland. Came round here. Now, so here's a camera up. That's the metro line. When I came to Sunderland, that was just a cycleway. I can't even see over the top of here. And just up there was Milfield station. I think this is the pension line. And then this historic Hetton Colliery Railway came all the way down here and headed. Thankfully, you can still see the old route of it. There it was. It went through there. There was also the New Bottle wagon way, which I think must have run close to this as well, which came from up New Bottle, doing pretty much the same. I think that went to the Lantern Staves. Anyway, the video's about to end, so I will say thank you for watching. If you did enjoy that, please give it a like, click on the subscribe, and I will see you next time. See you later.